millions of acres would have remained a barren waste if the men who settled this part of the Great Valley had not used their knowledge and strength to irrigate the land. They dug wells and pumped water into the naturally fertile soil.
They went out there shortly around the time of World War I. They had just brought electricity to the San Joaquin Valley, and they had invented the centrifugal pump. So there was a lot of groundwater on the west side that was usable water 100 years ago. And they started farming, and the crop that they farmed in a big way was cotton.
When man used his wisdom and energy to bring water to this land, he worked wonders. The irrigated soil yields heavy crops of long staple Egyptian cotton. The original cotton seeds were imported from the muddy delta of the Nile River.
The U.S. military during World War I told the cotton farmers, plant every acre you can, we'll pay you top dollar for the cotton. The military needed cotton for 1 million different uses in the military, from bandages to uniforms to the wings of biplanes in World War I were made from cloth. So the industry had a big boom there during World War I, then it collapsed. They continued pumping groundwater on the west side of this valley through World War II, when there was another big cotton boom. After that, they had pumped the aquifer virtually dry.
Today, the valley is benefiting from the creation of a giant irrigation project. Many huge reservoirs and a great network of canals and pumping stations provide water for millions of acres in the Great Valley.
We're not acting rationally for the long term. All of our current policies are non-sustainable activities. We cannot continue this level of water usage in California and keep everything going.
We have seen how the farmers have used irrigation to turn useless land into rich farms. And we have seen how the land and the climate help to shape the lives and occupations of the people who live in this Central Valley.
The problem is that there's too much land in the San Joaquin Valley under production. You've got 4 million acres of land. You've got several 100,000 acres of land on the west side of the San Joaquin Valley that has drainage problems because there are clay layers, subterranean clay layers, and they block the downward percolation of irrigation water. They back up to the root zone, and this water becomes progressively saltier. This shallow groundwater, which will ultimately kill the roots, the crops. And so to keep the land in production on the west side of the San Joaquin Valley, you need to bury pumps in the ground and pump the shallow groundwater out and into canals and drop your water table below the root zone so you can continue to grow crops. Now, they've been working on this problem since the 1950s. Where do you put all the salty wastewater that's generated by industrial agriculture?
Bryant Dam, finished in 1942. Shasta Dam, finished in 1945. Folsom Dam, in 1955. Trinity Dam, 1962. Other facilities, including New Melones Dam, finished in 1979.
We are exceeding the carrying capacity of the resource base. We know for a fact that we're pumping our aquifers, our groundwater resources, we're overdrafting those in a non-sustainable manner, particularly in the San Joaquin Valley, but all over California. We've polluted much of our groundwater in California along the coast, in the urban areas, in agricultural areas, and we've dammed virtually every major river in California.
Here's the Central Valley Project today. Over 20 dams and reservoirs to store 14 million acre-feet of water, 4.6 trillion gallons for farm, home, and industry, nearly 1,500 miles of canals, conduits, and tunnels, more than 300 pumping plants to carry water to the valley. Parallel to the CVP system is the California State Water Project, carrying its own water through the San Joaquin Valley and to Southern California.
And they want to build 2 more big dams now, one on the San Joaquin River, 6 miles upstream from a big dam, Bryant Dam, that will cost several $billion. So at some point we're going to have to ask ourselves, how much commercial activity domestic use, and wildlife can we sustain in this valley with what may be a changing climate?
So here we are, decades after Californians overwhelmingly rejected the proposal to build a peripheral canal, and it's come back like a bad dream. The political forces behind the plan are pushing the idea hard, making claims that it is needed to save the delta from earthquakes and rising sea levels due to climate change, to ensure that agriculture in the west side and the southern end of the Central Valley will flourish and water will flow to Southern California. All this, and that there will be protections for the delta and nature. But in reality, it's a sham.
The Schwarzenegger plan to build a 50-mile-long canal will not generate any new water and abdicates any meaningful oversight for the delta and will cost a minimum of $10 billion.
But truth be told, a handful of corporate agribusinesses, this cabal, allowed a stunningly rapid expansion of crops of almonds, pistachios, cotton, and others based on the expectations of continued illegal increased exports of water. That if it weren't for government subsidies and unenforced environmental regulations, practically none of the west side land from Las Banas to Kettleman City would be irrigated. This is all part of vast efforts underway to privatize most of the state's water supply, and that is what this is about. Thank you very much.
I brought my boat all the way up here from San Francisco and walked up on the land because the salmon can't, to come and tell these guys up here, don't screw it up any worse. Yeah. We don't have enough water in California. We're never, ever going to have enough water in California. Right. Yeah. We can either not have enough water with salmon, or we can have not enough water without salmon. Amen. So put some water back in the delta. Thank you.
This is what is at stake. Our ability to keep these remarkable runs of wild California king salmon and the environment in which they thrive comes down to standing up against the forces of greed and power. To choose between business as usual or maintaining a balance between the needs of all of California's water stakeholders. Building a peripheral canal means we all lose. Stopping it before it begins requires strength, determination, and goodwill. Raise your voice. Make yourself heard. Say no to the peripheral canal.